morning, everyone. Good morning. So initially, this talk was titled As Above, So Below. And the idea behind this is that we have an intrinsic connection with spirit, which is in direct alignment with the Islamic teaching of one God and the will of God as demonstrated in our loving actions. So over the course of this past year, once a month, we have explored a religious tradition. We've explored the Tao, shamanic traditions, Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, and Christianity. Today, our invitation is to explore the faiths that make up the religion of Islam. There's much misunderstanding about Islam. We might have biases from media that we have heard, and that makes up about much of the Islam faith. And so I really want to invite us to put that aside and look at what this faith really brings to the whole. So Islam is actually the fastest growing religion in the world today. And it is the largest religion next to Christianity. There are 1.5 billion Muslims on the planet, which is a portion, is probably the largest portion of the Islamic faiths. The Islamic people, I should say, the people who follow the traditions of Islam, see themselves as an Abrahamic religion. Their father is Abraham. And just as in Judaism and Christianity. It is one of the three monotheistic religions, meaning that it's one of the three religions that really says that there's one God. And that in Islam, that God is called Allah. And it is the same God that is for the Christians and the Jews. Muhammad is the founder of Islam. He was a businessman in the 600s who had a deep interest in spiritual matters. And so he would go to the cave, this cave, and he would meditate. And he was really deeply wanted that connection. And the angel Gabriel came to him and gave him instructions for the Muslim religion. So this is what makes up the Quran. And these teachings come directly from the angel Gabriel. There are 5 tenets or pillars to the Islamic faith. Confess publicly that there is one God, Allah. To be generous and give 2.5% of your wages to those in need. To pray 5 times a day facing Mecca, preferably with a group in a mosque. And to fast and observe Ramadan, which is a month-long celebration. And to make a pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in their lifetime. So there's different sects of Islam, just as there are in all of the major traditions. Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, and Baha'i are probably the largest sects that fall under the Islamic faith. There are a few very well-known poets from Islam that we often quote because of the beauty of how they express their connection with the divine. Those include Rumi and Hafiz. But the teaching I want to focus on this morning is the metaphysical understanding of our relationship with the divine. In the Islamic faith, the teaching is one God that is everywhere present and is all power. This is in direct alignment with what unity teaches. They also believe that this presence is within us and transforms our consciousness as we surrender to it. This is the will that is referred to in Islam. It is an allowing of the transformation of consciousness in order to raise our vibration to a higher understanding of who and what we are. So Charles Fillmore taught in the book, Christian Healing, "Ye must be born anew," was the proclamation of Jesus. The first birth is human. The self-consciousness of man as an intellectual and physical being. The second birth, the being born anew, is the transformation and translation of the human to a higher plane of consciousness as the Son of God. The second birth is that in which we put on Christ. It is a process of mental adjustment and body transmutation that takes place right here on earth. Have this in mind. Have this mind in you, which was also in Christ Jesus, is an epitome of the mental and physical change that may require years to work out. But all men must go through this change before they can enter into eternal life and be as Jesus Christ is. This is true surrender. We surrender into the awareness over and over again. Each of us may be at different states or stages in consciousness. So we surrender over and over and over again. Because we are all exactly where we're supposed to be. We're not supposed to be anywhere else. We're not supposed to be more enlightened than we are. That we're all on this unfolding journey. And so it is this unfolding journey that creates this global shift. And so it doesn't matter what race, creed, sexual orientation, whatever it is, what faith you follow. It is the surrendering into the presence that creates the transformation. It's surrendering into that presence. So there's a story in this little book, Birthing a Greater Reality, by Unity Minister Robert Brumman, that I have loved since the first time I read it. It goes like this. It's in a chapter called The Brief History of You. Before the beginning of time, the one rested in omnipotence, for there was nothing impossible for her. Then she rested in omnipresence, for she had no limitations whatever. She began to rest in omniscience, for it seemed there was nothing she did not know. But the one developed a strange uneasiness. If there is nothing I cannot do, then I can not know what it means to be powerless. If I have no limitations, then I cannot know what it means to be limited. Therefore, there's something I do not know. How can I be omniscient? How can I truly know power, she pondered, if I cannot experience powerlessness? How can I truly know limitlessness if I have never experienced limitation? How can I understand darkness if I am nothing but light? How can I know anything if I have never experienced its opposite? These questions haunted her for a long time, or would have if time had been invented. But the One, being truly omniscient, found a solution to this. I can be omnipresent and limited at the same time. I can be omnipotent and powerless at the same time. Only then will I truly know power and light and love. I will dream that I am powerless. I will dream that I am limited. I will experience all kinds of pain and limitation. As I awaken, the memory of this dream will teach me the ultimate nature of love and power and wisdom. For without illusion, I cannot fully understand the nature of reality. So the One said, let there be light. There was a big bang. There was time, space, and matter. And the dream began. Now this dream, or this, they call it an involution of spirit into humankind, is what we are waking up to. Spirit comes into us and experiences what it's like, holds that paradox of being fully omnipresent and experiencing limitation because of us experiencing limitation. And as expressions of the divine experiences what we experience while holding that truth. As we awaken, so the divine comes into us. As we awaken, the more we surrender, the more we come back into knowing the divine, knowing our divinity. So it's a full circle. It's a full circle. It's not just about us learning how to do things right. It's about us waking up to the truth of who we are and what we are. And then as we awaken to the truth of who we are and what we are, and we surrender into that knowing, and we cannot help but surrender ourselves to the will of God. Because the will of God is all good. And the will of God can never be in opposition to our will. It can never be in opposition to our will. So we don't have to worry about God asking us to do anything that we don't want to do. Now, God may ask us to do things that will stretch us, and we may not want to be stretched. But if you truly don't feel it's not yours to do, God will never ask us to do things that are not ours to do. That belongs to somebody else. That's their part to play in the unfolding drama that we're all a part of. And so as we own who we are, truly own who we are, own our gifts, own our talents, own that we are. We own that, then we get to allow others to be who they are too. It takes all of us. All of us are on this unfolding path of awakening. And none of us can do it alone. It's when we understand our human divinity that we live from the consciousness of being a miracle. When we really think about who we are and what we are, we cannot deny that that is a miracle. A miracle is a state of consciousness that opens us to the activity of spirit in such a way that we could not have imagined it in our intellect as happening. It's not outside of spiritual law. It is actually the unfoldment of spiritual law. But it happens in a way that the intellect could not have. You know, you sit back and you go, wow, I couldn't make that happen if I tried really hard. If I sat here all day and thought about it, I could not have come up with that one. And so as we open ourselves to that spirit and hold the truth of our divinity in our mind, then we open ourselves up to knowing the peace, the love, the joy that we are. There's an affirmation in Unity, an old affirmation in Unity that has just always stuck with me from the first time I heard it. It goes like this. I am open and receptive to God's living spirit of truth. I am open and receptive to God's living spirit of truth. When we open ourselves to that living spirit of truth, then we open ourselves up to discovering the miracle that is us, the miracles that we can perform. And I'm not necessarily talking about walking around and walking up to somebody and tapping them and going, you were healed. You know, if that's your gift, then you might do that. But there are other gifts. There are other ways that we demonstrate the miracle that we are. There are ways that we live that miracle every single day. Sometimes we be the miracle by smiling at someone who has had a tough day. That may be a miracle for them. We may be the miracle when we withhold negative energy from someone. That can be a miracle. You know, when we take that moment and change our mind. Say, no, I'm not gonna hold that negative thought. I'm not gonna send out that negative energy. That's a miracle. And so it's being that miracle. Looking for ways that is our individualized expression of the divine to be that in the world. None of us has all of the gifts. We have our gifts, and then we have our areas of, that's not my gift. And the miracle can be being able to say, admit, that's not my gift. And not trying to do it because you think that you're supposed to. Or because somebody else thinks that you're supposed to. But to really discover what your gifts are and to live and to be that. Because as each one of us does that, then we make up the whole. we can bring it back into this awareness where we too can hold the truth of omnipresence and limitation. We can hold the omnipotence that is within us and our powerlessness. We can tap into that wisdom that is within us, knowing that there is that within us that knows, that is all wisdom. And we don't know everything. And that it's okay. You know, that's the truth of who we are. And that together we bring about the coming of the Christ consciousness. That's the awakening of the Christ consciousness. That when we awaken that within us, then we are awakening the Christ consciousness. And we were never meant to do it. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and tap into that which is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, that is within us. So we just breathe into this moment, becoming aware. Becoming aware of the activity of spirit right here, right now. Feeling that presence all around us, within us. We may have things that we want to let go of. So I just invite you that as you exhale to just let go. That too is a form of surrender. Just allowing ourselves to become fully aware. Focusing on the presence. On that energy. Allowing that energy to envelop every aspect of our being, body, mind, soul, spirit. We recognize in this moment that there is no spot where God is not. In this very moment, we surrender